when the tsunami hit, they took it a certain way, and then when psychologists came over and saying, "Oh, why aren't they having these showing these behaviors? They must be going through something." Do you approach a child who may be from like an an African culture, and they show different behaviors toward a certain situation, and you try to figure out what's going on, how are they taking this divorce from I guess an American or Western psychology
That's a great cultural question. Yes, because you never want to assume you're like anybody or you really understand anyone anyway, whether they appear in physical appearance just like you or 100% different, right? So never having any assumptions about culture is a really good thing. The other thing is mental health issues are all brought up in contents of culture. So how someone may exhibit anxiety here isn't the way that they will in Kenya.
Right.
Is that fascinating? Even in the UK, someone told me the other day, counseling is an American thing, right? That where they're from, you just don't talk about it. That's how you handle it.
Right.
Right? So it's all in culture, right? The things that we talk about here, menopause is a great example. You know that they don't have issues of menopause in other countries. Well, that's fascinating, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. It's all, everything's culturally relevant, and that's what we base things on. Yeah, it's the same way with people's thought concepts, and because you can put a little bit of belief system in there too, right? If someone was rescued from a river, a Hawaiian would say that a certain goddess of something truly rescued him, and he believes that totally, right? Someone else might say it was the hand of God who reached down and pulled me up. Aren't both of those things true for them, right? Yeah.
I was just curious because, and so I entered the psychology class. I never knew that there was, I guess I would say different types of psychology, depending on where you are. Because I always thought there was only one type, and that the Western type, that Western people kind of made psychology also, but really there's different versions of it, and we all do it differently to to get the same result, to say, okay, what is wrong, the problem, find a solution.
Have you done any history yet with psychology? Because that's fascinating, and so that was long before America.
Right.
But that is one beef, let's say, with psychology, is that it's kind of a white man specifically. All the early tests were done either men imprisoned or in the army, which is not a good representation of our culture, right, of our population. Yeah. All the moral development was done only with boys, right? So there's cultural things, there's gender things, lots of different things,
That reminds me, do boys versus girls act out more differently to divorce? Do the genders react differently?
I don't know if this is statistically accurate, but I could just say from my experience, I dealt with more boys that were physically aggressive, doing risky behaviors, and it's all about anger either way, I think, grief, disappointment on some level, where girls are more anger towards self-harm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I don't know why it's just been my experience that teenage boys are more likely to hurt other people, teenage girls are more likely to hurt themselves.
How do you deal with that when it comes down to you find out that they're hurting themselves or others?
Well, there's a confidentiality statement that everybody signs, and teenagers over the age of 13 are responsible for their own mental health care. Meaning, if a 14-year-old told me something and her mom wanted to know what she said, I can't say anything. Same way if it was an adult. I wouldn't be telling the mom, right, anything about a person. Self-harm or harming someone else is the exclusion. So ideally, I'd want the kid to tell the parent, and I'd probably be there. But that's safety is one thing you can't let go, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if a kid say, I'm going to go to school tomorrow and kill my PE teacher because he did whatever and everybody laughed at me, it's like, oh crumb, now I have to do something about that. If I thought he was serious, right? Yeah. Not just like when someone says, oh, shoot me. Or, you know, those
Yeah,
quips. I'm not
thing,
talking about that, right? But if someone said, I'm going to cut myself, and my mom thinks they've removed everything, but I have a pencil sharpener, or, you know, there's no telling what kids can come up with sharp edges. It's amazing. Then yeah, that's the time that I have to call the parent in to say something. Yeah.
Do you find that a lot with parents who aren't together still? That as a result, kids going towards do that?
I wish it was as easy as that, but it's not. And this is the thing about mental health. Kids that you'd think have the world, right? Mm-hmm. Or the kids who you think at school are the, you know, whatever, and they're going off to college and they've had everything, still self-harm, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Another kid who you think, wow, they've got a hard life. How are they doing it? They're like, nah, I'm pushing through. One foot in front of the other. Yeah, I would never do that. I have to ask that on every assessment. When things get hard, do you ever consider harming yourself or others? Yeah. And if they don't say then, maybe a week or two later, they'll say, you know, when you asked me, yeah,